In a world where efficiency and productivity are the main emphasis, where competitiveness are too tight, an acquisition or an collaborative approach does brings benefits and is necessary, and it does has been proven to enhance the tech industry utility and brings a better world. We are proud to oppose. Our stance here is that we believe that merging in the tech industry is crucial and critical and also vital towards the growth of these tech companies. It has improved their performances in a tremendous level and even accelerates the company's growth. But before that, before getting to my arguments, three rebuttal that I'm going to talk about. First is when the Prime Minister talks about that it limits the privacy, as both companies has each other's access to database and leaks the user's information on and between companies. The problem with this argument is that the premise itself is that the connection and the merging and the acquisition between companies is well known by the audience, and therefore the audience and the users themselves should have expected that certain kinds of data might be switched around and might be traded between these companies who are already merged around. But let's say even if they don't know this, it is still actually principally justified as to know what your users, your audience, or your customers' interests are in order to sell the right product to them and to show them the right video or the right article. It is therefore justified. In addition, this connection is often to facilitate effectiveness at the very first place. So the incentive is a good one, and they only want less time on judging what these new users' interests are. Second thing on what the Prime Minister talks about, it brings a detrimental effect to the workers. This, we believe, is a less significant detrimental effect on them compared to the benefits of facility, like better resources and high-paying job when the companies they are currently working in is bought and merged with other better companies. Third is the elimination of competitiveness through acquisition itself is bad. That is what the Prime Minister talked about. But on our side of the house, we believe that collaboration, acquisition is actually better to either each and every one of the stakeholders, to either the big, small companies that are involved in the acquisition or also towards the individual ones who hasn't got into any acquisition. This will be elaborated furthermore on my practical arguments. So getting to my arguments. Two things that I'm going to talk about on my arguments. First is why it is principally better to have a collaborative approach than a competitive approach. And second, how practically it is more effective to each and every one of the stakeholders. First, on the principle level. On the principle level, competitiveness will just lead to a more detrimental outcome and corners the weaker party, which means that without mergers and acquisitions, the less better and weaker companies won't thrive as better as it is doing today. And even it might result in them getting drowned by the bigger companies which is emphasized more that we are talking about tech companies here, where people will most likely just use the previous and well-known app. Thus, this will only result in hinders on the new company's growth and will end up hinders new options and innovation. Whereas, even if, let's say, there might be a certain restriction that the weaker companies need to have once they're bought, but we believe that the benefits that it brings towards this less weaker companies, it will be much more bigger. Like it will enable them to have more resources for better updates and better growth. It outweighs the less significant negative impact that it brought. This also incentivizes even and motivates even the individual companies to innovate and make themselves more appealing, to have the hope and the chance to merge with other companies. Therefore, it is principally better if an merging, acquisition and collaboration approach are the main approach compared to a competitive one, and that is our principal ground. Second, on why practically it is affecting in a good way towards each and every one of the stakeholders. Let's say three scenarios can happen. A big company emerge with another big company. This will result in more better algorithm, more better coding, and systematical interconnection enhancement, which leads to a wider use when two tech companies merge. This brought out the benefits of better and more efficient utility. For example, when you purchase something through Tokopedia, then there will be an option to ship it using Gojek. When you are entering Instagram, it indirectly promotes Facebook on the home screen. When you browse things through Google, it will also often show YouTube clicks. This mutual benefits between that is caused by the interconnection within both companies is vital and crucial, as tech utility is currently widely used and supports through promotion, connection, and links between these companies brings tons of new users, tons of additional views, tons of additional shippers, and thus facilitates growth on towards these companies. But second scenario, big company emerging with small company. This will end up benefiting the small companies even more, as more resources towards the less capable and weaker companies will happen. Let's take an example. When Google buys YouTube a decade ago, for example, a great amount of investment is put to YouTube. They receive big financial support from YouTube, which later provide YouTube with more resources to employ better programmer, buy better facility, develops new algorithm, and it increases the productivity in general. This makes YouTube develop more exponentially, as now they got more resources than that they previously have not. Even if the existence of interconnection between companies sometimes cause a leak in the user's information, but most of the time the incentive is to make more benefits even towards the users itself, as it comes from the acknowledgement that more information known by this company means less time to know what entertains you to YouTube, what you're interested to buy. The incentive at the first place is to accelerate and cut down the time spent on finding out what your interests are, and therefore it is bringing more benefits. And the third scenario is, let's say these companies haven't gone through any merging or any acquisition. It will still be beneficial for them, as they got more hope, as when they are still starting out and they still don't see a green light in terms of their company's career, they will say a green light as what they need to do is just make themselves more innovative, more appealing, so that they can have an acquisition or an merging with another company, and thus it will improve and motivates them and incentivize them even more. So to draw a comparison, in the status quo where merging and acquisition has happened, this does not only facilitates and accelerates innovation and efficiency, but also it incentivizes individual companies to innovate even more and make themselves more appealing. Whereas on the proposition side, less growth will happen, and our tech industry won't be where it is today without acquisition and merging. And therefore, we are very, very proud to oppose.